For years, there has been a debate within the Minecraft community. One so vile that the punishment for being on the opposing side is immediate execution. That debate is Minecraft Java Edition versus Minecraft Bedrock. Despite being the same game, there are many differences between them, but which side do I fall on? I'll be real, I don't really care. Okay, I mostly play Java Edition, but Minecraft Bedrock is in reality not that bad. If you don't know the difference between them, Java is the original version released on computers, and Bedrock Edition is the version with crossplay that's released on literally everything. But what makes the debate between them so vile? Well, it comes down to the fact that there are several differences between the two versions. Now, these can be obvious things like crossplay in Bedrock Edition or the marketplace, which is definitely a fan favorite feature. Okay, I can't complain about the Adventure Time skin pack. But on top of that, there are several features within the game itself that are exclusive to either Java or Bedrock. This could be simple stuff like texture changes to more interesting things like crafting recipes, mechanics, and whole items. So today, I thought it'd be fun to go over some of these features that are exclusive to Bedrock. The reason I'm going with Bedrock Edition is because I know pretty much all there is to know about Java, but when I looked at the list of Bedrock exclusive stuff, there was a ton of things I've never heard of. And I have played a good amount of Bedrock Edition, so maybe players from that version could learn something new from this video as well. Plus, I also want to talk about which of those features I want to see come to Java the most. Before we start, I do want to note that this is far from a full list. I originally wanted to rank every Bedrock exclusive feature, but the list was way bigger than I thought, and also some of the changes are super boring. This video will only cover the ones I found the most interesting, though if this video does well, I might cover some more later down the road. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right into the first exclusive feature. Let's start with a simple one first. The snow layer is an item that got a ton of changes between Java and Bedrock. Most Bedrock players probably know about this one, but for Java players that have never seen it before, snow layers are now actually affected by gravity. In Java Edition, they just get destroyed when the block under them is broken. Along with that, they'll also have particle effects under them just like sand and gravel. This is a pretty interesting feature, but I'm not really sure if I need it to come over to Java. Personally, I've never been in a situation where I desperately needed to drop snow layers on someone. A feature I would like to see come over though would be snow logging. If you've played Minecraft ever since 1.13, you know that certain blocks can be waterlogged, or in other words, you can have a water source on the same tile as certain blocks. In Bedrock Edition, you can actually do the same thing, but with snow layers, though the selection of blocks is a lot more limited. It's pretty much just flowers and other small plants, but that's still a good feature. That way, if you have a snow-based build, you can add details using plants without having to completely get rid of the snow surrounding it. You can also completely encase a plant in snow layers if you want to. It won't even get destroyed if it's completely covered. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but hey, you can. The last snow-related feature I want to mention has to do with leaves. In Bedrock Edition, whenever it starts to snow, all leaves in that biome will turn white. As far as I'm aware, there is no way to get leaves that look similar to this in Java, and I am extremely jealous. These look so good and are absolutely perfect for winter-based builds. Honestly, I want them to expand upon this feature in both versions. Maybe make it so we can place snowy leaves anywhere we want to. Out of the features we've talked about so far, this is definitely the one I want the most. I hope we get to see it in Java someday as well. Okay, I know you guys are getting cold, we can move on. One of the other most well-known Bedrock exclusive features has to do with the cauldron. First, let's look at the Java editions for a baseline. It can hold three things: water, lava, and powdered snow. The cauldron can help you farm each of those items, but besides that, there's really nothing else. Bedrock Edition lets you do so much more. For starters, you can actually dye the water. It's not even just in the game's 16 main dye colors either, as you can combine them to make unique mixes. The reason you're able to do that is because the cauldron is used to dye leather armor in this version, but honestly, I think the watercolors by themselves look really cool. While sure it can be a bit niche, I guarantee you could come up with a build or two that would benefit from this feature. The main ones I could come up with all have to do with potions though, and wouldn't you know it, the Bedrock cauldron can hold those as well. These will not only be colored based on the potion used, but will also have the particle effects from those potions coming from the cauldron. Not only is this good for builds, but these cauldrons also let you make tipped arrows. You can even turn a whole stack of arrows into the potion version with just one use, which is far cheaper than the crafting recipe in Java. I mean, really, do you want to waste this much on a jump boost arrow? That's not even the end though, as witch huts will now be able to spawn with a random potion inside its cauldron. There's a 25% chance for healing or poison, 15% for swiftness, 10% for slowness, weakness, strength, or water breathing, and a 5% chance for fire resistance. While not a huge feature, that's a cute little detail to throw in, and could even be good for getting an early game potion. So I think it's safe to say that the Bedrock Edition got way better cauldrons than Java. I definitely hope all of the Bedrock features relating to them come in the future. Okay guys, I got trolled. So this next section was going to be about crafting recipes, as there were quite a few on the wiki, and a few that I remember from my time playing on Bedrock. However, it appears that Bedrock must have just got these recipes removed. Barrels used to be crafted with sticks instead of planks according to the wiki. Sadly, I don't know if that's true or some Wikipedia goblin decided to lie about that, but our next one definitely is true because I do remember it. Boats used to require a wooden shovel to craft on Bedrock Edition, which sort of makes sense with the boat using oars, but it was very annoying. I guess this must have been super recently patched out, so now both versions just use 5 planks. Personally, I'm a fan of that change. The wiki also mentioned that you could turn cobwebs into 9 string, but literally last update this feature was removed. I don't really understand why. I feel like that should be something on both versions, not removed entirely. So yeah, this whole section was a minor setback, but let's jump into stuff that is still actually different. You know, while we're on the topic of boats, I do have one other change for them that I wanted to mention. In Bedrock Edition, you can actually attach boats to leads. This is a really nice addition, both practically and aesthetically. Tying boats up to a fence can make a dock build look a bit nicer, and dragging a boat with a lead can help you move multiple mobs at once if they're inside of it. Though be warned, it's a bit finicky. Continuing on with leads here, not only can they be attached to boats, but you can also tie them around walls. You don't see the leads tied up texture around the wall, but the fact that you can attach them at all is a nice addition. So if you have a ton of walls just lying around in a build, they can now be used to tie a mob to. Again, another small change, but one I'd be happy to see in Java. Okay, I was going to use this to transition into our next fact, which involves fences, but I cannot get it to work. The wiki says you can place buttons on top of fences, but I can't place buttons on top of fences. The wiki has bested me once again. Okay, luckily there is another button fact that we can mention. In both versions, buttons can be attached to pistons, but for some reason in Java, they'll immediately break when used. This is just stupid and annoying, so Bedrock actually making the buttons stay on is much better. That's not the end of the piston stuff though, as they have a feature that I am extremely jealous of. Most people say that Java's redstone overall is much better, but man is this next feature good. Pistons are able to push and pull a few extra blocks in Bedrock Edition, but these blocks are some of the most important in the game. They can now push barrels, beehives, bee nests, blast furnaces, brewing stands, chests, chiseled bookshelves, daylight sensors, dispensers, droppers, furnaces, hoppers, lecterns, smokers, and trap chests. Being able to push and pull some of those items is absolutely game-changing. You can set something up to rotate through several chests while not moving from a single spot. You can set up a looping furnace array with the different types, and these are just the ones off the top of my head. There are endless possibilities with this, and I'll be honest, it's probably the single feature in this video I want the most in Java. Which made it extra insulting when they added it in an April Fool's update, but not the real game. On top of those blocks, the piston can also push bells, candles, and lanterns, which would normally just be broken in Java. So while yes, the redstone mechanics in Bedrock do kind of suck, this feature is really cool. Well, I'm running out of ways to smoothly transition between segments. You all want to talk about fire? Well, I have quite a few facts about fire to talk about. First off, we have to talk about the fire aspect enchantment, as it can actually do some unique stuff in Bedrock. Its main use is to still light mobs on fire, but you can also light a few other things. If you have a campfire or candle that needs to be lit, using an item with this enchantment, you can actually do that. This is a really cute Easter egg. Like most other things in this video, it's far from a game changer, but it is something small that I would like to see in Java someday. What's funny about this is the fact that you can not only use a tool with this enchantment, but the book itself also works. I'm sure that's just because of how they programmed it, and it probably wasn't intentional, but it's pretty funny. Oh yeah, you can also use it to ignite TNT. Now, if you're somehow stuck with an unlit campfire and don't have a flint and steel or fire aspect tool, there is another way to light it. If you walk over it while you're on fire yourself, it'll actually get lit too. Again, another cute little Easter egg that I think should be in both versions. The final fire thing I want to mention has more to do with item frames, but it's still kind of related. Items that produce light like torches or items with the enchantment glint will be able to glow in the dark when placed in item frames. They don't actually produce light, but the item itself is definitely much more visible. It is worth noting though that it's very inconsistent. Stuff like torches, lanterns, and lava work, but the campfire doesn't despite having a massive flame. Personally though, it doesn't really matter to me. Who's gonna display items in the dark anyway? While we're on the topic of item frames, one of the most common items to put in them are maps. It just so happens that Bedrock Edition maps work completely differently from Java Edition. In fact, there are actually 2 different craftable map types. In Bedrock, the maps we know from Java are known as locator maps. However, if you replace the compass with another piece of paper while crafting, you get the Bedrock exclusive empty map. Not only is this cheaper, but it removes one of the most annoying parts about the map. The difference between the two is that the locator one has this symbol to track the player, but the empty one doesn't. That also applies to when you place the map into an item frame. For some reason, Java Edition will put this really ugly green marker to show where a map is, but Bedrock Edition's maps don't have that problem at all. I really like this approach of having 2 different map types, as it lets you choose which one you prefer. Since I prefer not having the locator, I definitely want this feature to come to Java soon. Want some more Bedrock exclusive items? Well, why don't we take a look at Bedrock Edition's 2 exclusive banner patterns. Those are the Field Masoned and Bridger Indented patterns. Now I know what you might be thinking, those are in Java Edition. While yes, you would be correct in saying you can make both banners look like this in Java Edition, Bedrock Edition requires you obtain the pattern first. Both versions do require a few designs to be made with a pattern, but these two for some reason also need it in Bedrock when they didn't in Java. That's a pretty pointless addition if I'm gonna be honest, just some needless tedium to a process that really didn't need it. I much prefer Java in this instance. Alright, back to having no creative transitions, let's talk about tridents. There are actually a surprising amount of exclusive features for this, and I definitely feel like all of them should be added to Java. First off, in my enchantment video, I mentioned how loyalty isn't able to bring tridents back if thrown into the void. As it turns out, that's not a problem in Bedrock Edition. Now I can finally throw my trident in the end all I want. Wait, I didn't enchant it yet. Also in my enchantment video, I mentioned how impaling works completely differently between Java and Bedrock. In Java Edition, it will just deal extra damage to a small group of water-based mobs, but in Bedrock Edition, the enchantment is significantly more powerful. It will deal extra damage to any mob that's in water, making the enchantment much more helpful. This even works when it's raining, so if this was added to Java, the enchantment would be way higher on my list. It does actually appear like this functionality will be added at some point in the future, since the enchantment works like this in the combat snapshots. Another trident thing has to do with dispensers. While they'll just drop out like an item in Java, Bedrock dispensers will actually fire out the trident, which is much cooler. This is another one that's been seen in the combat snapshots though, so we should be seeing it in Java soon enough. Also, while I was getting footage for this segment, I somehow got the dragon to T-pose. Yeah, maybe Minecraft Bedrock Edition is a little broken. One feature that I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen in Java has to do with armor stands. Normally you can only put armor pieces on them, but Bedrock Edition allows them to have arms, which means they can hold stuff as well. Now you can get these arms in Java too, but it can only be done using commands. Since they're already in the game though, I really feel like arms should be the default, or at the very least they should give us some way to add them on. On top of just arms though, Bedrock Edition also has several preset poses you can put them in. So if you ever wanted to make your armor stand dab, you can do that. Again, you can pose armor stands in Java Edition, but it's only through commands. I really see no reason for this to still be Bedrock Edition exclusive. They better add this into Java soon. Before we get into stuff relating to mobs, I have a few more miscellaneous things that I wanted to quickly run through. Cakes can stack up to 64 in Bedrock, whereas they can't stack at all in Java. Grass blocks can be composted in Bedrock, which honestly feels a bit strange, but fair enough I guess. Enchanted golden apples are significantly more powerful in Bedrock Edition as they give you regen 5 for 30 seconds as opposed to the regen 2 for 20 seconds in Java. You're able to have 2 pages open at once in a book and quill, just like a real book. I think. I've never been able to open one of these things before. Fishing rods not only have a 3D bobber in Bedrock Edition, but also have a much larger durability with a total of 384 uses compared to the 64 in Java. Finally, as for a really helpful one, bone meal is actually able to work on sugarcane in Bedrock. This is such a nice feature, especially early game when you're trying to get enough resources for a full enchantment table. This is definitely up there for one of my most wanted Bedrock features. The rest of the video is going to be features related to mobs, and there are quite a few worth mentioning. Starting off with one of the more helpful ones, charged creepers are able to drop multiple heads at once instead of just one. If you didn't know, a charged creeper killing either another creeper, zombie, skeleton, wither skeleton, or piglin will make it drop its head. In Java Edition though, each explosion will only let you get one head, even if the explosion killed multiple mobs. Bedrock Edition completely removes this limitation though, and lets you get as many heads as you want from one explosion. Personally, I understand why Java is the way it is, as it's much harder to abuse and get a ton of free heads. Part of the fun behind the mechanic is the challenge, so possibly getting hundreds of heads at once is a bit much. Then again though, I would definitely not complain if this was added to Java. This was especially powerful in previous updates, as strays, for some reason, would drop wither skeleton skulls if killed by a charged creeper in Bedrock. Sadly, that's since been patched, but it was in the game for quite a long time, and I definitely used that to my advantage at least once. Speaking of strays and wither skeletons, you can actually find spider jockey versions of them in Bedrock Edition where you couldn't in Java. They're far from the most interesting jockey mobs Bedrock has though, as baby zombies are significantly more powerful here. Everyone knows about the terrifying chicken jockeys in both versions, but in Bedrock, baby zombies can also ride cows, donkeys, foxes, horses, llamas, mushrooms, mules, sheep, ocelots, pandas, pigs, stray cats, untamed wolves, cave spiders, spiders, zombies, husks, zombie villagers, and zombified piglin. Yeah, that's a massive list. They don't even have to spawn on the mob, as they can just decide to ride one whenever they want to. This is a really cool feature though. It makes a baby zombie more interesting to fight, and it's always neat to see a brand new combination. On top of the interesting changes given to baby zombies, a few other baby mobs got some as well. For example, the baby villager now has a massive head. There's nothing more to that, I just think it looks stupid. Salmon are able to come in various different sizes in Bedrock. Yes, that's not technically them being a baby, but some of these guys can be quite small. This is just a neat little thing that adds a bit more detail to the game. I don't think it changes anything besides their hurt box, but it's a cool feature regardless. The final baby fact for this video are squid and glow squid babies. They exist. I'm not sure if it's possible to see them in survival since you can't breed them, but they have a very rare chance of spawning from a spawn egg. I really don't know why they wanted to add this, but it basically being a secret mob has to make it at least a little bit interesting. Maybe they plan on letting us breed squids in the future, which would be nice for some basic ink sac and glowing farms. In my experience, those two farm types are always pretty annoying to set up, so an easy breeding method would be greatly appreciated. Alright, time to rapid fire through a few more small ones. If you name a minecart in an anvil, it will actually be able to show the name just like any other mob. So if I name it Mario, you'll be able to see its name tag. Got my Mario reference in, let's go. Skeleton horses are able to be controlled without a saddle in Bedrock, which doesn't really make much sense. Still though, I always think this is still the case in Java Edition. Maybe now that I'm making this video, I can finally get that fact out of my head. Shulkers will actually be able to drop more shulker shells. In Java, they can only drop 0 or 1, but in Bedrock, they can drop up to 4. Which makes absolutely no sense, but shulker boxes are one of the best items in the game, so I am not going to complain if this comes over to Java. The reason this happens is because looting will increase the amount of shells it can drop by 1 every level. So normally a shulker would only drop 1, but looting 3 will get you up to 4. Even if they don't go this crazy with it, I'd appreciate them at least being able to drop 2 in Java. I think that's more than a fair request seeing as they do have 2 shells. And for our final Bedrock exclusive feature for this video, we have the Wither. I mentioned this before, but the Wither boss fight in Bedrock Edition is 100 times harder than it is in Java. I mean, you can pretty mindlessly kill the Java version, even if you don't have the absolute best gear, it's pretty free. In Bedrock Edition though, that is far from the case. That comes down to the fact that it's got completely different AI and a few new deadly attacks. First off, it now has a charge attack, so it will randomly just be able to start rushing through the sky, making it incredibly hard to hit. This Wither is also always breaking the blocks it's touching, making an underground fight with it not much better than one on the surface. I mean seriously, fighting underground in Java Edition makes the Wither a joke, but here it might just be worse. I mean, it can really move around while you have to struggle with the new terrain it's generating by simply flying around. Even past its movements, its attacks are a lot deadlier too. Now it can shoot out not 1, but 4 Wither heads at once. And on top of that, the Bedrock Wither can also spawn in Wither skeletons. Listen, I get it, skeletons are cool, but come on. There is so much this guy has that makes him so much better than the Java Wither, it's actually insane. But if there is one saving grace, he can't regenerate health on his own in Bedrock. I mean, that barely even plays a part in the Java fight, but it's nice that the Bedrock Wither got some sort of nerf. Oh, did I mention the Bedrock Wither has double the health? Yeah, it's got 300 hearts compared to Java's 150. So even without regen, it's got no issues in the health department. Out of anything you can do in Minecraft, I genuinely think fighting this might be the scariest thing in the game. So with that said, do I want them to add this to Java Edition? But anyways, that's it for this video. Are you mad that I didn't mention chests being fat in the Minecraft Bedrock inventory? Let me know in the comments. Like I said, this list of exclusive features is massive, so if this video does well, I could certainly make a part 2 later down the road. This was definitely one of the videos I personally learned the most from making. I knew about all of the big ones, but some small stuff was really interesting as well. I hope you all were able to enjoy this video no matter what version you play. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.